41 years old, 19 touches, one final whistle. And just like that, the most dominant presence in Portuguese football history walked off an international pitch for the very last time. The era is over, and nobody quite knows what comes next. Dallas, At&T Stadium, round of 16, Portugal versus Spain, a 1-0 defeat. And Cristiano Ronaldo, visibly emotional at the final whistle, confirmed what everyone had already felt deep in their bones. This was his last World Cup. The trophy, the one thing his cabinet never held, remained elusive. Forever, back home in Madeira, his island lit up the sky with a drone display. A message burned into the night. Obrigado, 7. Thank you, 7. And with that, an era ended. In truth, this was probably a tournament too far. Ronaldo scored 3 goals across 5 games in North America. He played the full 90 in 4 of those 5 matches. But against Spain, the match that mattered most, he was more or less anonymous. 19 touches all game. A passenger, not a protagonist. Chris Sutton said it on BBC Sport. Waddling around the field like a grandad. What is Roberto Martinez doing? How can you pander to a player so much? Harsh words. But words that reflected a truth nobody at the Portuguese Football Federation was willing to say out loud. But here is the thing nobody wants to admit. Ronaldo only became such an albatross for the national team because Portugal never found anyone good enough to replace him, and that problem is still not fully solved. Portugal have not been to a World Cup without Ronaldo since 2002. Think about that. An entire generation of fans has never watched Portugal at a World Cup without number 7. Only Lionel Messi, with 31 matches, has played more World Cup games than Ronaldo. Nobody has featured in more tournaments. 6 World Cups. One man. His gravitational pull, good or bad, sucked in all focus from everyone around him. His star power so immense that Bruno Fernandes, one of the world's finest midfielders, played in his shadow for years. That shadow finally lifts. And here is where Portugal's story gets genuinely exciting. Because the squad that emerges from Ronaldo's shadow is in parts absolutely extraordinary. Few nations on earth can boast a midfield like Portugal now has. Neves Vitinha, both double Champions League winners, both among the world's finest midfielders right now. Both young enough to return for multiple future tournaments. Bruno Fernandes at 31 ranks among the globe's finest too. Though whether this was his last real shot at the biggest prize, nobody can say for certain. And then there is Bernardo, Silva, Urban, Dias, Nuno Mendes, Cancelo. Elite talent. From Europe's biggest clubs. A goalkeeper in Diogo Costa who is more than capable at the highest level. On paper, from the back to the middle, Portugal are formidable. The problem has always been, and remains, at the top of the pitch. And here is where the honest conversation about Portugal's future gets uncomfortable. Because the attack, the most important position now vacated, is genuinely unsolved. Portugal failed to score against Colombia this summer. Portugal failed to score against Spain. They struggled badly to create good chances against Dr. Congo. João Felix, Pedro Neto, Rafael Leo. All 3 have shown flashes. None have shown consistency. And there is simply no conveyor belt of top-class strikers waiting in the wings. That is the honest truth. Ronaldo, for all his limitations in these final years, at least gave Portugal a finisher. An elite instinct in front of goal that has not been replaced. And may not be replaced for a very long time. But here is the name every Portugal fan is now looking toward. One player. One move. One enormous question. Can Gonçalo Ramos finally become the striker Portugal needs? 4'15", Gonçalo Ramos, 25 years old. He came off the bench against Croatia and headed Portugal into the last 16. He famously scored a hat-trick against Switzerland at the 2022 World Cup, replacing Ronaldo. His record when called upon is undeniable. But last season at PSG, he was reduced to a bit-part role. Patchy, inconsistent, not yet the main man. This summer, €74 million took him to AC Milan. A fresh start. A final chance to become what Portugal desperately need. And here is what he does offer that Ronaldo no longer could. Ramos will press. Ramos will link up play. Ramos will give Neves and Vitinha the freedom to express themselves in a system no longer built entirely around one man. That alone changes everything about how Portugal play. With Ronaldo gone, Portugal lose more than a player. They lose a captain. A focal point. A commercial empire. 673 million Instagram followers gone from the Portuguese narrative. Fernandes, Felix, huge names in football. But they do not carry Ronaldo's gravitational weight on the global stage. Dias Fernandes, Bernardo, Silva are the candidates to inherit the armband. But the number 7 shirt, that is different. That shirt is not just a jersey number. It is an identity. It is a standard, and whoever wears it next will carry a weight that no footballer in Portugal has ever had to carry before. Every young Portuguese forward from this moment on will be compared to Ronaldo from the first moment they do anything remotely impressive. That is the burden of legacy. Portugal said goodbye to their greatest ever player on a warm night in Dallas. 1-0. 19 touches. Tears at the final whistle. Obrigado 7. But from the ashes of that farewell, a genuinely exciting new Portugal emerges. Neves, Vitinha, Ramos, a midfield without equal. A striker with everything to prove. A nation ready finally to find out who they are without number 7. Drop your verdict in the comments right now. Can Portugal reach a World Cup semi-final without Ronaldo by 2030? Subscribe now, the next breakdown is already coming. Do not miss it.